Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be doing an age focus video for the Age of Absolutism, or rather which focus between administrative, diplo, and military focus you should go. As always, accompanying us in the Age of Absolutism when you have this up will be the ticking. The faithful ticking of time, slowly reminding you of all the opportunities past and all the mistakes you've made, and the droning of time like a millstone crushing all future possibility. Now, for this, just broad strokes, I think, speaking of too little too late, I think that's kind of the story of the diplomatic focus, where there's a lot of good stuff, but it's at a phase in the game where you're stopping to care about the power of the diplomatic focus stuff. You're kind of turning a corner, generally speaking, and you're getting to the point where you're very, very strong, and these modifiers stop being so good. And in a multiplayer context, a lot of these modifiers are not even good to begin with. Administrative focus is probably my favorite, but I think I'm getting debated because I like proximity a lot. And military focus, this is kind of where I think this is by far the strongest military focus tree up to this point, and it is fairly likely to be the strongest one, despite my kicking and screaming and liking proximity and the administrative focus. But we're going to get into it one at a time, starting with the diplomatic focus, which again, I think is a little bit too little too late. So to kick things off, we have maximum diplomats, not very strong, does help it's a nice quality of life, I suppose. You're not mad to get this modifier or something like this, but I think it's often not worth researching, because in theory you should just spend your dip as it's coming in. Although if you do the thing where you bank up a whole bunch of dip and then spend into a deficit, and then use this exploit to effectively get extra diplomats, it actually is a useful modifier, so I guess there's something to that. Next up is Subject Opinion plus 25, which I think is by far the strongest modifier, or the strongest tech in here, but unfortunately it comes at a time when the car is loud outside, and it, knells the end of it's the death knell of a particular playstyle, which is that, it's the end of a playstyle where you are expanding via subjects, because integrate area comes around in Age of Absolutism. And I think once you get integrate area, the importance of expanding via subjects becomes considerably less. You can still do it, but also your subjects' loyalty, and this is why the extra loyalty is good. Your subjects' loyalty kind of negatively scales as you have more subjects, country strength of all X relative to Overlord. You're also just getting stronger, and I think the combination of you taking stuff directly and integrating it yourself rather than only subjects expand, and this type of thing is going to make it so you have enough escape velocity that this modifier won't necessarily be useful, and also you're going to, throughout the age, want to get rid of a lot of your subjects, because next stage you get minus 30 loyalty of subjects. And so the kind of impact of the age is also going to be felt, I think, in this regard. And so we do have some impacts on the age here as well, minus war score cost, this type of stuff, but that's going to make you want to take more stuff as well, and the fact that you're often strong enough to back it up is also makes it kind of an age where turn and burn starts to get a lot stronger, so the antagonism received modifier, I think, gets a little bit weaker. I think you're getting to the point where you're juggling coalitions rather than just preventing them entirely, often enough, and this stops being a modifier, or it's like an RP modifier. If you want to stack a bunch of antagonism received reduction and stay underneath any coalition from anyone at all times, then this Diplo is maybe good, but I think you can just manage it pretty strong. Diplo Rep, a similar idea. It is mainly for the antagonism reduction, and so both of those, a little bit too little too late, excellent modifiers before. Monthly Diplomats, strong modifier in the early game. This is not even a large amount of diplomats, it's always 0.1, and so this tech is effectively diluted out by all the other sources you have. Our change of diplomats is positive 0.6 while we are spending over 1, so we're 1.65 total diplomats, so this doesn't represent an enormous uptick in diplomats. National trade plus 10%. This is good, this is researchable, but it's not like a reason to pick up the whole tree, right? Trade efficiency, 2.5%. I think that it is possible that this gets a lot better, to be fair, but as I understand it, this is not... I'm actually not 100% sure if this applies at the margin on trades, or if it applies to the thing you're selling, but either way, 2.5% is not that big. So the question is does this all apply to the market price? And it looks like it does, which is nice. And then the market price minus this equals your margin. So if it was applying to the margin, it would be worse. If we were applying to the total profit after the sell price minus the buy price. And so in some sense, it's effectively doubled. You could say, roughly speaking, if you are buying something for half price and selling it for double that, then effectively this trade efficiency is acting double on the margin. But even then, I think it's worth researching, but it's not something to write home about and be super happy with. Income from colonial subjects plus 10%. I think that this isn't very good, because most of the income, most of the value you get from colonial subjects has to do with trade, and getting that from the colonial subjects. If we take a look, you get plus 50% on the age anyways, and so this is effectively diluted out. And also colonial subjects, you might not be able to see our big ass head is blocking the tooltip there, but the colonial subjects only give you 2.5% of their income. So this isn't a lot. They also give you manpower and sailors. And so this is something that's kind of okay. But us, with completely covering basically all the New World, Australia and Africa, we're only getting 500 manpower from this, for example. And we are getting a little bit less in sailors. So really, I don't think it moves the needle too much. Diplomatic range. You're getting to the point where you're going to have diplomatic range on everyone most of the time, I think. So I'm not sure how good this is at all. And then Navy repair cost, fair enough, minus 20%. Blockade efficiency, plus 50%. Probably okay in multiplayer. But overall, I just think it's generally a pretty weak tree. And a lot of the things, if they were 1 or 2 ages earlier, would be absolutely outstanding and it'd be a strong tree. But it's just a little bit too late for that, I think. And the kind of 3 things that are good, Diplo rep, minus antagonism, and subject opinions, I think you're in the transitionary phase in the game where these are not going to be very important anymore. And so just overall, the tree is not that good, mainly as a result of the kind of changing circumstances of the game rather than the modifiers not being very good in the abstract. Tick, tick, tick. Alright, next up we have the administrative focus. This is mainly about this modifier, but let's go through it one at a time linearly. Extra initiative, as it stands right now, the armies are not correctly applying stuff. And what I mean by that is you have, for your formation, you have a box, right? You have 11 guys on this front, 13 guys on this front, so we're already overstacked on this front, 11 on this front. Overstacking the fronts is particularly effective because guys will roll to engage. Once they engage, other guys behind them will still roll to engage. Your maximum roll is equal to your frontage. And so stacking 2x your frontage instead of the automated 11 here, overstacking the frontage, we have 13 instead of 11 stacked here, will make it so that you roll more to get in, which effectively makes initiative a lot less valuable. Also, right now with the current balance of the game, initiative just doesn't seem that good in general, because it's really hard to single file guys, although there have been iterations of the game where initiative's been very valuable. But the main idea is that I think initiative's just not that strong as a result of kind of how you play, and so not necessarily too pleased to see it. But something that is also worth noting, if we come in here and we take a look at our general, is you get an enormous amount of initiative from your dip on your general. And so, while in the abstract, even if this were a modifier you'd want to achieve, it's diluted out by the fact that you get an enormous amount of dip. You don't get an enormous amount of discipline. I mean, you get a good amount. Discipline's really good. You don't get an enormous amount of frontage. This guy has 100 admin, and it's 10% frontage. You get an enormous amount of initiative. So this effectively dilutes out initiative modifiers, and I think you kind of, relative to what generals are getting you, tend to not get very much initiative when you pick up initiative modifiers in the tree and such. But continuing on, pop conversion speed, 10%. Good if you're converting. I'm not sure how good converting everyone is, to be honest. Just in the abstract, but okay, it helps for that. Then we have centralized government. Proximity cost plus minus 10%. This modifier gets better the more of it you get, and you also, in this age, just get a tech that straight up gives you minus 10% proximity. And so measuring the world is going to give you minus 10% proximity. You also get roads, and roads kind of make percentage proximity cost reduction a little bit worse, because flat proximity cost reduction is going to, the more flat proximity cost reduction you have, the less valuable percentages. Nonetheless, you can reduce proximity cost by a whole lot, and when you have, your first 50%, or let's think of it in terms of 25%, just to kind of illustrate, it's a discount modifier, it gets stronger the more of it you have. But if you have the first 25% off, reduces the amount you pay when you travel from one location to another in terms of the proximity cost by 25%, right? And then the second one you have is going to reduce this. So when you go from 100 to 75%, it's a 25% reduction. But when you go from 25% to 50%, it's effectively a 33% reduction, because 25 is 1/3 of 75. And when you go, so you're paying less and less per segment. And when you go from 50 to 25, that's a 50% reduction. And when you go from 25 to 0, that's a 100% reduction. And then you have max proximity everywhere. If you take a look at what we have going on entering this age, we have something like 60% proximity cost reduction, something like this. 12.5%, 22.5, 27.5, 32.5, 37.5, 47.5. I thought we had more. But we will have, at this point, let's call it 50%. We will get effectively 40% more reduction in this age. So the more of this you have, the better it is. And so, very, very strong modifier. I thought we had more this run. Weird. But this is very strong, and it's getting to the point in the game where it is strong. This is by far the strongest thing in the administrative tree. And I think it might be debating me into thinking that this tree is, or liking this tree the best. I like... The thing is what does proximity give you? Just in the abstract, in a broader philosophical question. And proximity gives you more control, right? And more control gives you more income, and it gives you more... well, it helps with everything, but it gives you more income, and it also gives you more sailors and manpower. The point of sailors and manpower, or income, is to buy more sailors and manpower, and at a certain point, you actually need to fight or do stuff with the money, the extra money you're getting. And at a certain point, it is better to just get better combat modifiers than it is to just get more manpower or something like this. And so it's difficult to evaluate, but also the more of this you get, the closer you get to minus 100% reduction, the better it gets in terms of thinking of it in terms of how much military capability you get, because you'll get increasingly high amounts of manpower from it by the result of increasing your overall control. So, but the point is in the abstract, you're not, the control isn't an end in itself, it's instrumentally useful, and so I think I get debated into overvaluing it, but maybe not. Monthly development growth, nice, would be way nicer to have earlier in the game, but we do like development, just generally speaking. By the time you research this, you're only going to have like a third of the game left or something, though, if you kind of rush it, so I'm not sure how strong I think it is. Like a 0.002 modifier at the start of the game in the first stage is a lot different than one now, I think. Monthly colonial migration, you will have so much of this modifier by now, if you're kind of pursuing it, that I think it will be not that strong. Right, we haven't even maxed out this modifier. We have plus 150%, so this only represents a 20% increase in colonists. Also, if you are really actively colonizing by this time period, most of the stuff will be already taken anyways. And so, it won't really be that good. We have been kind of lazily colonizing. And so I think if you actually were proactive and super active in previous ages, everything actually should be gone by now, and it was probably just a dead modifier. Extra Diplo cap, not really that useful. Bank interest, you're taking loans is just bad at this current juncture. Monthly control, unless I think maybe intentionally bankrupting repeatedly is good, but then you're bankrupting rather than paying the interest and this type of thing. Monthly control, 0.1. It's probably not worth researching. All estate satisfaction equilibrium, 2.5%. This is the other good tech. But it's mainly about the proximity. But this is quite nice. Does allow you to tax people more. You're probably reaching a point where your taxing is not necessarily throttled by satisfaction. We would be throttled by satisfaction if we were trying to tax the peasants, though. I suppose we'd get a little bit more off of the nobles here, and that's fair enough. Still would be happy to see it, and I think in our game we do end up going administrative focus, but maybe we rewind the tape and go military focus, because I'm almost talking myself into it here. And then max literacy, plus 10%. This is a nice modifier in some ways. I think that the best thing that literacy is giving you, in a lot of contexts, is the just really, really good early game, because it gives local pop promotion speed. I think that this modifier falls off because you don't get throttled by pop promotion speed that much later, and then like the next best one is maybe the Burgers Trade Capacity Dev Growth modifier. I think you can maybe make an argument that local assimilation and pop promotion speed is really good, but this is just represents a very small percentage in terms of 10% literacy, what it's giving you. And what it gives you in kind of large part is extra research speed. It'll give you, once you get your literacy up to whatever the equilibrium is, which in itself takes time, it will give you 10% more research speed. But if you just look at this, you can see we already have a ton of research speed modifiers, so the more of them you have, the less it's going to affect you relative to your baseline. And we have like 130% or 140% plus, so we're at like 240% research speed in total, including the base 100%, and so it doesn't represent an enormous uptick in your ability to research. It's like 4% more research than you would have otherwise that you're getting off the humanism. It's definitely good, but it comes down to this being good, this being good, and the proximity cost being good. And I think the proximity cost is far and away the best thing, and is very nice if you're picking it up or you have other sources of it, because on a lot of countries, I do think you can approach minus 100%, and if you could do that, it's slam dunk obviously the best. But if you can't do that, you might want to be going to the military tree, so let's take a look at the military tree. So previous age military trees are just like, this one's good for boats, this one's good for levies. This just has kind of like all the very best modifiers that you are interested in, excluding ship repair at speed at sea, which is, I think, not... is underwhelming. I suppose this is probably researchable, but an anticlimactic start. Minus army attrition is a little bit nice in winter. It's a bit nice on longer campaigns, which you're more likely to be doing. You're more likely to be fighting far away from home, and to be fair, this is a little bit nice in those contexts. I really wish support units, you could use them to replenish your army's size of units, but also people might have attrition modifiers specifically. So it's not dead, but this isn't a crazy modifier either, but here's where it starts. Discipline's a really strong modifier. Increases the damage you do, decreases the damage you take. We love it. And also, a lot of these military modifiers, just to be clear, apply multiplicatively with each other. So, they are force multipliers for each other, so getting more and more of them when they're varied is also strong. We get monthly control decline. I don't know what this is about. I assume that this, like... I don't know what... This just seems bad. I don't know what's going on here with this one. I don't think it's worth researching. I think maybe it gives you a trend towards a value that's not yet unlocked or something, or it's just weird. Army morale recovery speed, plus 2%, unless this, like, works in reverse or something. So, like, it gives you control gain as well. Anyways, army morale recovery speed, kind of a nice modifier, allows you to keep topped up, not worth writing home about, but here we have artillery power plus 10%. We like those. Plus 10% power, great. Grand Army manpower plus 10%. You can have a bigger army, and if you don't have manpower modifiers already, this is extra dudes. Army maintenance, minus 5%. This includes the manpower cost. So they're multiplicatively good with each other. So in terms of how big an army you could have, if you have no other modifiers at this point, which you probably do have other modifiers, but instead of looking at it like, oh, I have a... Well, you get 1.1... right? Divided by 0.95. And so you could have a 15% larger army, just on the very basic, like, calculation of it, with just these modifiers alone, but also, they are multiplicatively effective with each other. If you have multiple army maintenance modifiers and multiple manpower modifiers, you can start running away with your army size. a little bit, and I don't think any other, to my recollection, I don't think any other military focus age has both these modifiers together. Just like none of them have like discipline plus other thing. You can see we're running into manpower problems, so maybe we're overvaluing it slightly, but okay. And then we have infantry power plus 10%. So this is also at a phase in the game where cavalry has started to fall off and is no longer, cavalry just always has 4 power. But in the age of the 4th age, the manpower or the power of the infantry starts to go up. Normally it's 1, it's power level 1, ages 1 to 4, or 1 to 3, and then on 4 it starts going up, and also the ratio of the cavalry starts to drop, where it's no longer exactly half. We won't see a 800 size cavalry unit, instead we see, let's see, Gallop cavalry, it's a 600 size. And so the margin also falls off as well in terms of the number of units, and so the units number times this equals how much damage it does, right? So this is doing 2,400 damage, and then the infantry is going to be doing like 3,200 damage, right? A little bit over 3,200 damage, 32 and some change, like 3,500 damage. You still get a flanking bonus, but cavalry's not very good. And so you're getting the bonuses on the units that are good. Also, you get the bombard phase, where you get to go pew-pew with your bang-bangs. And the mortars also, or the artillery also continues to get better. So here you are doing 3,600 damage if you get on a front, and then you also have the chance to bombard in this type of thing. So it's going to become more infantry and artillery, and that is exactly what you get in your power modifiers. So more than happy to see them, especially if you've not gotten any of them. They don't stack multiplicatively with each other, so additional infantry power modifiers stack additively with themselves, but they stack multiplicatively with other modifiers. Anyways, continuing on, finally, we have naval damage taken, minus 10%. I think this is a strong modifier, especially if you've taken a bit more of it. This does seem to be increasing efficacy if you take more of it, which is kind of a little bit of a weird thing. To be fair, the discipline is also reducing damage taken. So the increased damage part is diminishing returns. The decreased damage taken is increasing returns, which is kind of a funny thing because you have like a more modifier and a discount modifier. But we have just a whole ton of things in here that are really, really strong. And so I do think, emotionally, I think administrative focus is better, but I think that military focus may well be better than it because you are getting so much payout in terms of combat strength on this tree relative to other trees. And in particular, you're probably going to have a slightly polarized, just overall way you look at this is, am I approaching minus 100% proximity cost reduction? If so, administrative focus is going to be better. And if not, the amount of additional control I get in all my locations, is that giving me more combat strength? Because money starts to not matter after a certain point, and you're just using it to measure a high score. After a certain point where money stops to matter, it's the question of how much combat stats am I getting from this extra control? And does it outweigh just getting minus 5% cost and plus 10% manpower, and then also these extra combat power? And the answer is probably not. And so I do think that I want to say that emotionally, I want to say administrative focus is better, but like logically, military focus, this seems to be the first time that military focus looks particularly good and is quite possibly better. And so that is kind of our discussion we have for it. Let me know what you think below between admin and military focus, because as you can tell, I'm a little bit kind of torn about it. But yeah, that has been our kind of review of the different focuses. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm thing, hit the notification bell, and if you want to support the channel, a good way of doing it is if you are purchasing products for full price on Steam, you can instead purchase them from the Paradox web store and use code GENERALIST in all caps. It will not give you a discount, but it will send 12% of the sale my way, and it's a good way to support the channel. But if you're not using USD, make sure the conversion rate is such that the price is the same. And also other content creators have this code, so you might want to check out theirs and use theirs if you would prefer to use theirs instead. Other than all that, y'all have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.